Welcome to another Marketer's Edge interview. My name is Mark Snyder, and I'm founder CEO of RSW Agency Search. We're a no-cost way for marketers to find best-in-class agencies of any type or size. You can learn more about us at rswas.com. And today we're talking with Marcie Vogelpohl, the marketing manager for Verst Logistics. Verst Logistics is an inbound logistics top 100 third-party logistics company located right here in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. Marcie, thanks so much for joining us today. How have you been?
Good. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm good. We got a beautiful day in Cincinnati, so can't complain. It's nice to have that humidity and heat behind us for at least a day.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So I've got a small handful of questions for you, but before
Yeah.
we do that, can you tell me a little bit about Verse Logistics and your role in the organization, so our viewers know what kind of company it is and what you do for them?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, Verst is a 3PL provider. So we are headquartered in Walton, Kentucky. We are family owned and operated and privately held, and have been since the day we opened. We've been in business for a little over 58 years, and we have about 28 warehouses nationwide. And we have about 100 assets, dedicated assets. And throughout the warehouses, there's about 8.8 million square feet throughout the US. So, yeah, we offer services such as fulfillment, packaging, transportation, brokerage, and warehouses. And then I've been with the company for about a little over 3 years, and I'm the marketing manager here.
Okay. Okay, great. And what kind of things are you responsible for as a marketing manager at Verse?
Anything you can think of that is within the realm of marketing. Yeah.
Okay. We'll dive down into it a little bit
Yeah.
later on, but
Yeah.
that that makes complete sense. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. Verst is sitting in the shadows of a pretty big logistics company and TQL located here, also in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area, and I'm
Mhm.
sure there are others. Curious, how do you effectively differentiate Verst both externally to potential clients and to potential employees?
Yeah, sure. So specifically speaking to TQL, being that brokerage is all of their business primarily, and it's just a portion of ours. That's the main way I think we differentiate from them. We've actually partnered with TQL in the past for load scheduling, so that's always interesting. I think some people don't understand that 3PLs and awful like brokerage offerings can partner together. So it's a very interesting industry for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and we differ from the large players, I would say, just because of that family feel. So, like I mentioned before, we are family owned and operated. Our our CEO believes that community involvement is huge. So we're very active in the local community. We support organizations like Dan Beard, Boy Scouts of America, Green Beret, Children's Home of Northern Kentucky, and Master Provisions, just to name a few.
That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
So does a company itself sort of get involved in things like volunteering
Mhm.
at events in those organizations?
Yeah, so we actually just helped raise $100,000 for Dan Beard. Paul, the CEO, was actually named the Good Scout of the year this year. So we were able to partner with them to raise that money, and it was really a really great event for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and personally, oh, sorry. Personally,
No, no, please go ahead.
I sit on a few of the marketing committees as well throughout those organizations that I mentioned.
Okay.
Mhm.
Remind me again, what does Dan Beard do?
So they're Boy Scouts. So it's the local
Oh,
region for the Boy Scouts in this area.
got it. Got
Mhm.
it. Okay, that's great. That's great. That's
Mhm.
certainly super important, and definitely I would imagine internally employees probably generally like that,
Mhm.
and makes them feel good about working for Verse, which is super.
Yeah.
You mentioned this earlier as you were describing Verse, and I saw it on your company's site that Verse provides single source contract packaging, shrink sleeve labeling, repacking, and filling. I'm curious, is it unusual for a logistics company to be involved in that kind of a business?
It may seem a little unique because not every 3PL does offer that service. We
Okay.
are actually the largest operation in the industry and I think that really sets us apart. And we started in warehousing about 20 years ago. Or I'm sorry, we started in warehousing way back when we started. But 20 years ago, the packaging business was brought to us by customers' needs. So
Oh,
they actually kind of approached us. We were able to offer them more comprehensive services that way. And it's been a really great business for us. So we offer things like shrink sleeve labeling, pressure sensitive labeling, carton variety packing, filling and kitting, and repacking services.
okay. Do you know
Mhm.
when you your salespeople sell or when you market, are you marketing all of the services together, both the logistics and the contract packaging, et cetera, or do you really sort of target certain services against certain organizations?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the customer's needs. After kind of doing a deep dive and maybe further conversations with them, a lot of our customers that utilize at least three of our core lines, and we like to consider us like a one-stop shop for all your supply chain needs, because we can store something, we can ship something, we can fulfill an order, and we can also package it for you.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Do most of your clients sort of that use the contract packing business and the things associated with it also use sort of the logistics side? Is there a lot of
Mhm.
overlap in
Yeah.
services? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
There are.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Good for you guys. So, um, let's see. So I'm just curious, just when you think about sort of the logistics industry as a whole, what would you say some of the biggest challenges that the industry faces today?
Yeah, I would say for sure labor shortages. There's definitely across the not just the industry, but I feel like worldwide there's a significant shortage of
Sure.
qualified workers. So I feel like that's probably a major one, as well as rising costs. Fuel prices are a major expense for logistics companies, which I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. I think that paired with the labor shortage are probably two of the largest things.
Okay. And how
Mhm.
how does Verse deal with some of those issues?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We actually own a mix of, or we have a mix of owned and leased buildings and equipment. So that really helps us keep the costs down. And then in regards to like the labor shortage, our leadership is very involved. Like I mentioned before, they really care about their employees and really showcase that well within the culture. It's very integrated and it helps set us apart, I think. So I think that we're able to attract, some candidates that we wouldn't necessarily be able to without that.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys have like separate marketing efforts for employee recruitment?
Yeah, so I try to help as much in that as I possibly can. Being one person, it is a little bit difficult at times, but I tend to support them when needed.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And just generally speaking, how important is traditional and digital marketing beyond just your website and your
Mhm.
business? I'm curious, what kind of marketing do you do, and who is it typically targeted to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do focus a lot on industry publications. As you mentioned before, we are a inbound logistics top 100 a 3PL provider. So we do some advertising with them as well. Targeted print ads, digital ads. We do Google paid ads and some paid social as well. And then we tend to focus on industries like CPG, food and beverage, retail, auto, wine and spirits, and industrial, with really incorporating factors like growth and revenue of those particular companies.
Got it, got it.
Mhm.
Okay. So are you messaging differently to different industries, or is
Mhm.
it sort of one consistent message across all?
Yeah, I think it really depends on, once we've done our research and we can understand the business of the potential target, I think that is, going to really help us with the way the marketing is going to play out for that particular target. Yeah.
Who I'm just curious, like who within consumer packaged goods company would you be targeting title wise? Is it like the operations, or do they have logistics people? I would imagine probably working
Yeah.
in those organizations. Yeah.
Yeah, like head of supply chain, logistics operation, so those types of titles.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it. With the contract packing, is that a different individual within, say a CPG organization that you might be talking with, or?
Potentially, I would say, but normally, it is sometimes honestly the owners of those particular companies. Because it is, a lot of different variety of beverages that we do a lot of for that.
Okay.
So sometimes I think it's, those companies that are looking to take their packaging game, to the next level, and really know that we are a trusted supplier for that. So they will come to us.
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, what are some of the bigger challenges you deal with in marketing versus business?
Yeah, so I would say the number one is capacity. So I am the only person, like I mentioned before. Uh, so it is a little bit difficult at times to fit it all in. I have different requests coming from different areas all the time. And then I would also say, differentiating in a competitive market. Logistics is more of a saturated market, I would say. So
Mhm.
really trying to be able to stand out in that particular market.
Okay.
Uh, and then ever evolving industry. So not just logistics, but marketing as well.
Okay. What
Mhm.
do you mean by that?
So I just mean it's constantly changing. The market is changing for supply chain as well as technology is always growing for marketing. It's always seemingly different depending on the day. So,
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
definitely, definitely. Yeah, along those lines, has AI found its way into the world of verse marketing at all?
Yeah, so I use AI typically for content ideas. So I don't, obviously ever use it verbatim because that is a big, no in my in my opinion.
Mhm.
But generating trending topics, I also like to have it create images for me from time to time if I'm looking for
Okay,
something very specific, and can prompt it to give me that particular image. It's very vast. And I think as long as, like I mentioned before, if it's used responsibly, I think it can be a really great tool.
that's great. Do you
Mhm.
guys, you're pretty active in the social space?
Yeah, we are. So, yeah, I think we have a pretty good presence on LinkedIn for sure. So,
Okay, cool.
mhm.
Just getting back to some of the challenges you spoke to, do you have the people making requests of you within your organization, of like salespeople requesting specific things for specific target companies they're going after, or what does that kind of look like?
Anything and everything. So I get pulled into event planning. I get pulled into, collateral creation. I get pulled into, we do a customer service satisfaction survey every year. So I lead that process. So um, I'm trying to approach it in a different manner as of late in enabling a ticketing system. So that'll help me be able to prioritize all the tasks that, are asked of
Yeah,
me. Mhm.
that's great. So you do a customer satisfaction survey every year.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Mhm.
fantastic. And it, do you find that's fairly actionable? Are there typically things that you're sort of learning about your organization or your relationships with your clients that cause you to make some change for the positive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we identify any, there's not many issues, but, we identify if there's a customer need that needs to be met. Right. So if there's somebody that, makes a comment and says, hey, I would really like this, but we may not know that because we may not have had that conversation.
Right.
It really helps us identify those and be able to serve our customers better.
That's great. That's great. Good
Hmm.
for you guys. So kind of jumping off the business of Verst a bit. You've got a very interesting background. Just looking
Hmm.
at your LinkedIn profile, you started in the marketing agency world.
Hmm.
You worked for the Daily Catholic for a period of time, which, by the way, I get every morning.
Hmm.
I'm curious, as you think back to your experience working specifically in the marketing agency world, how has that time influenced how you operate in the marketing role at Verst? Do you think it provides you with any different or better perspective? And if so, how and why?
Yeah, so working for Dynamic Ethic was more of a it wasn't just a job for me. It was more of a passion project. It stemmed from my deep faith. I was raised Catholic, have been ever since. So it is a true cornerstone for me in my life.
Hmm.
But my true calling eventually did lead me back to marketing. I realized that that was what I was kind of put on this earth to do.
Hmm.
So I moved back into that market, and I actually, have really enjoyed it since. My journey has definitely been interesting for sure. But I do, to your point, think that it has enabled me to have, different qualities and things that I may not have had before. So speaking specifically to the agency, portion, I would say it gave me the ability to interact with diverse clients and really gave me a unique perspective. It also honed in my ability to build strong collaborative relationships. And I think that's a skill that's essential for any marketer, right? You have to have
Sure.
that ability to do that. And then project management skills. So I feel like that's really a huge thing that I learned from agency life.
That's
So,
great. That's great. I'm curious, do you ever work with any outside suppliers at all?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. So we actually worked when we redid our website 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
worked with a outside agency for that. So they helped assist me with different, facets of that. So along the lines of, content creations, we actually had to redo all the content from our previous site. And then we also did new photography and videography. And then I currently partner with an outside agency that does our SEO, so both paid and organic.
Okay.
And then I do utilize outside agencies for some content creation as well from time to time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Fantastic. That's great. Um, so, also looking at sort of your personal history, I noticed you were given a, Marketing Mountain Mover Award that recognized you as that's a mouthful, isn't it?
It
That
is.
recognized you as an instrumental marketing individual within the industry, whose achievements, performance, and vision help shape your company or the industry at large, which just is pretty impressive. I'm curious, what specifically did you do, or maybe it's just more broadly, what did you do to help you win that award?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm truly humbled by that award. I was not expecting it whatsoever. So it's through an organization called TMSA, so Transportation Marketing Sales Association. I'm actually heavily involved in that organization. It's a great networking opportunity, meeting other people in my space, in my industry. So it's really great, first and foremost. But that award was a testament to combination of things, I would say. So the website redesign that I did, as I mentioned before, some social media growth, and my community and industry involvement as well. So the website actually, the redesign boosted our online traffic and it doubled our traffic year over year, which was tremendous. Yeah. And I was able to triple our social media audience, specifically on LinkedIn. So that was really great. And as I mentioned before, I'm pretty active within the nonprofit world, sitting on different committees, as well as I am also involved in another industry related association.
That's great. That's
Mhm.
great. So, just a couple last questions for you. Any advice you give to another marketer, whether it be in the logistics industry or any other industry for that matter, that's thinking about bringing a new agency on board? Any advice you give them?
Yeah, I would 100% say vet them and get referrals. So, like I mentioned before, I am active in a lot of associations within the industry. So, that allows me to be able to connect with people in my role in my industry, which is huge. So, I'm able to ask them, hey, do you have any ideas for this? Or, hey, have you used anyone for this? And that's really, really worked out great for me. But do your research. Something may sound really wonderful at first. Their job is to sell you on things. But when you dive into it, it may not be what it seems to be. For example, I actually was thinking about bringing on a company that was able to do some really cool digital assets for me.
Okay.
However, talking to another person in my role in my industry, they brought them on board. And I quickly realized the amount and the heavy of lift it would be to actually do that. So
Mm.
she said they had to hire an additional person just to onboard that product.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. And for me, I never would have known that outside of having a conversation with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's no fun. That's not why you bring an agency on board, so you can do more work.
Right. Yeah.
Um, well, great. I've got one last question. So, if an agency, was trying to knock down your door and attempting to win your business from, or win business from you, what advice would you give that agency?
Yeah, so I get many of emails like that, as I'm sure you probably do as well. So I would say about 25% of those of my emails are those. So
Okay.
somebody trying to get me to utilize whatever service it might be. So
Okay.
I would say, if I didn't for some reason respond to your first email, um, it's just probably because I didn't have time and potentially that I'm not interested at the moment.
Mhm.
So your next touch point to me should not be a passive aggressive email because I feel like I tend to get that a lot. I don't know if anyone else does, but I
How would you like
don't
give me an example? Just make
know.
interesting that you call it
Yeah.
passive aggressive.
Hmm. Yeah, meaning that they'll come, back and say, "Hey, I sent you that email. Why didn't you respond?" Or clearly you're too busy to respond to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't,
I'm
so
really sorry.
yeah. So I would say that. And then also, try a compliment first. Maybe do some research, look on my website, look at different things that we've done and say, hey, I really liked what you did here, but can you maybe, or can you see yourself needing some additional service in that particular area? Or, hey, here's how I could potentially help you with that, right?
Mhm.
And look at the details. Like if you get my name wrong in an email, I'm probably not going to respond to it because in my mind, it's an automated email or potentially a bot. And then a personal touch, I always feel like is really good. So I had received something from a local company, and it was actually a sample of their product prior to them ever reaching out to me. So, which was really, really cool. And I did end up having a conversation with them because of that. So,
So a
yeah.
sample of their product. What kind of product was it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so it was like a swag item. Yeah, and the way that they did it was really neat. So it was, I think it was ended up being like a light, for your phone. And the business card was actually a cell phone with the salesperson's picture on the phone, and then the little light clipped to it. And it was just really the way they packaged it and put it together was really neat, and it stood out to me. So
It was mailed to you.
it was
That's
mailed
great.
to me. Yeah,
Wow, I love that. You love
I know.
old fashioned physical mail.
Right?
That's
Sometimes,
great.
yeah.
That's great. Well, this has been great. I really appreciate you making the time. It sounds like you're doing some great things at Verst, and seems like you really enjoy it, which is super. And wearing a lot of hats, but you're doing a lot of good things, and it's really cool to also see, the community piece, the not-for-profit piece. All those things are so important, helping, not only from retention, but just, putting a good corporate face on and
Mhm.
showing, the industry and the community that, you guys are serious players and, want to do the right thing. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I applaud you and applaud the organization for that. So yeah, again, appreciate the time and certainly wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.